Miley, have you ever had that moment when you're trying to speak English, but your brain is stuck translating every single word from your native language?
Oh, absolutely. It's like my brain is running Google Translate in slow motion. By the time I finish my sentence, the conversation has already moved on.
Exactly, and that's what we're talking about today. Why we translate in our heads, how it slows us down, and most importantly, how to stop doing it.
So, if you want to sound more natural and confident when speaking English, stay with us.
So let's start with the big question. Why do we translate in our heads before speaking?
Well, it's natural. When we learn a second language, our brains rely on our first language as a reference. It's like using training wheels on a bike. It helps at first, but eventually you have to take them off.
Right, and the problem is translating slows us down. Instead of speaking fluently, we get stuck searching for the perfect translation.
And sometimes the translation doesn't even make sense. Have you ever tried translating an idiom from one language to another?
Oh yeah, imagine saying, "It's raining cats and dogs," and someone thinks animals are literally falling from the sky.
That's why direct translation doesn't always work.
All right, so we've all been there. You want to speak English, but your brain keeps translating everything from your native language first. It's slow, right? It feels like a barrier. So, how do we break this habit? Miley, got any tricks?
Absolutely. There are actually quite a few tricks. First, immerse yourself in English. This is key. You have to surround yourself with the language. Listen to podcasts, watch movies, read books, or even follow social media accounts in English. The more English you hear and see, the more it starts feeling natural.
That's a great start. It's like learning how to swim. You can't just study the theory. You've got to jump in, right? So, the more you hear English, the more your brain starts to get used to it.
Exactly. And speaking of getting used to it, think in English as much as possible. Start small, even when you're doing simple tasks. For example, instead of thinking in your native language, "I need to go to the store," just say it in English in your head. "I need to go to the store." Or better yet, as soon as you think it, say it out loud.
That's right. It's all about making English feel like it's your default language. And here's something that's very helpful: visual thinking. Instead of trying to translate every word, try to picture the thing. Like when you think of an apple, don't think manzana in Spanish or apfel in German. Just picture the apple.
Yes, that works wonders. When you picture things, your brain doesn't have to waste time on translations. Just imagine the object or idea itself. You could do the same with actions. For instance, if you're thinking of run, don't translate it. Just picture yourself running.
Here's another one I really like: shadowing. This one's super fun and effective. You listen to a native speaker, whether it's a podcast, video, or just a YouTube clip, and you repeat what they say immediately. You're mimicking the sounds, rhythm, and flow of the language. This trains your brain to think and speak in English without the need to translate.
I love that. It really helps you get that natural flow. Plus, you're not only learning new words, but you're also practicing pronunciation and intonation. It's like learning how to speak the language, not just understand it.
Exactly. And let's not forget the power of your phone. Set everything to English: your apps, your phone language, even your social media. Why not? You'll interact with English so much more, and soon you won't even notice it's happening.
Oh, definitely. And it makes things more fun. You'll be reading posts and captions in English, and your brain will start processing that information in the language without needing to translate. This is another way to make English a part of your daily routine.
And if you want to go a step further, you can even practice by narrating your day in English. Imagine you're alone in the kitchen making breakfast. Instead of thinking in your native language, say out loud, I'm making coffee, or I'm cutting the vegetables, or I'm looking at the clock. I'm going to be late.
That last one is definitely me. But seriously, this is so helpful. Talking out loud, even if no one else is around, helps your brain shift into English. It's kind of like muscle memory for speaking.
Exactly. And here's another really effective method. Creating a mental checklist in English. For example, when you're getting ready to leave the house, go through your checklist in English. Phone, check. Keys, check. Wallet, check. It's a simple way to get your brain used to thinking in English during your day-to-day activities.
I love this one. It's like combining organization with language practice. Plus, it's super easy to start doing right now. You can even make a mental journal in English, recording your thoughts and feelings in English, even if they're just small notes.
Right. And another fun technique, play with the language. You don't always have to be serious about it. Try playing word games like 20 questions or even Hangman with your friends, or try some language apps that allow you to practice in a more gamified way. It'll help your brain get used to responding quickly in English.
Fun is key. If you enjoy what you're doing, your brain will be more likely to switch into English automatically. So, whether it's a game or just chatting with a friend, just let the English flow without thinking too much.
Absolutely. The goal here is to make thinking in English a habit. The more you practice, the more natural it will feel, and eventually you won't have to translate anymore.
So, what's the takeaway? Stop translating in your head and start thinking in English. And the best way to do that? Now, to sum up, immerse yourself in English, think in English, use visual thinking, practice shadowing, set everything on your phone to English, practice narrating your day in English, creating a mental checklist in English, play with the language, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Most importantly, have fun with it.
And remember, thinking in English takes time. Be patient with yourself. It's okay to make mistakes. That's part of the process. Before we go, we have a challenge for you. For the next 24 hours, try to think only in English. Describe things around you, talk to yourself, and if you catch yourself translating, stop and rephrase in English.
It might feel weird at first, but trust me, you'll get used to it. And the more you do it, the faster you'll speak English fluently.
So, what do you say? Are you up for the challenge?
We believe in you. Now go out there and start thinking in English.
We hope you're up for the challenge. Keep practicing and don't forget to enjoy the process. See you in the next episode of Unlock English Podcast.
Bye for now.